All right, we're on Austin Lake today to try it. We got, no, it's winter time. So after reorganizing my tackle at the beginning of January, we have been watching all my old fishing videos, going through all my old fishing reports, going through my old logbook. So we're gonna analyze that. I've got stuff going back from 2008. First trip that I recorded here was on Paw Paw Lake. 11/5/2008. I did this logbook up till Paw Paw Lake 6/22/2013. The last one I took, that was fishing with Greg. I went through all that for the past month. 400 and some videos, bunch of reports. I used to do reports on a site called Rick's Ultimate Bass Fishing. It was kind of a local Ohio, Indiana, Michigan kind of fishing forum. And Geezer's Bass and was actually started by Rick. So he's the one that kind of got us together. My old channel used to be Triton Man. Some of you used to follow that. He came up with the idea of getting 5 or 6 of us together and just sharing videos on one site. But that was his idea. He put in the work, he got it started, and he got the name. Geezer's Bass is actually from Rick. But after a few months, everyone decided that it wasn't really working out. It didn't really do that. They all wanted to go back to their own channels. So everybody kind of separated, and Rick just handed the channel off to me because he had put in some work and gotten a lot of subscribers to start with, and more than I had on my own channel. So I just kind of kept it going, and I've been using that ever since. But anyway, I went through all the lakes. I have fished in the past 15 years, roughly. I have fished 67 different lakes. You know which ones I've fished a lot. I have logged 5,799 fish caught, which gives me an average of about 6.6 fish per trip. Which doesn't seem like all that much, but one of the downfalls, I don't have all the trips where I get skunked, just because either I wouldn't have reported those back then, and then when I got to those videos, I probably should have logged it. It's always a problem after you get done looking at the data and analyzing it and stuff like that, you wish you had more data. And maybe I regret not doing that, because it does throw off the catches per trip averages for some of these lakes. Some of the ones, it looks like I catch just a whole bunch of big fish, but ignores all the times I go there and get skunked. So we're going to dive into the data a little bit, and I'll probably make multiple videos on this because it's going to be lots of data. I'll do some lake specific breakdowns. So let's start off with big fish. I have caught 5 bass that have been over 6 pounds. So the biggest one is a 6.5 pounder, 22 inch. I have caught 5 bass that are 22 inches exactly. Not all the same ones. Some of those 22 inches are just 5.5 pounders. Let's see, I've caught 38 fish that have been 5 pounders. The lake I have fished the most in 15 years has been Austin Lake, 211 trips where I've caught a fish. Long Lake would be 105 trips with a fish. Then Paw Paw Lake, Huzzy Lake, Portage Lake, 68. Lake I'm going to call Lake X, 47, and then Barton Lake is the next one, and that's 21 trips with a fish. I got a lot of lakes with just one trip. Or 23 lakes, I only went to once. So the most bass since Austin Lake, of course, is the most trips. That's the lake I've caught the most bass from. 1,104 bass I've caught. Huzzy Lake is second with 701. Portage is next with 591. Paw Paw Lake I've caught 428. Long Lake Kalamazoo 364. So those are my top 5. And yeah, the surprising thing is Portage Lake, I didn't really start fishing. I fished it one time in, I think, 2010. And then I didn't start fishing it until 2020. So all those fish catches, for it to be the 3rd most fish catches, only fishing it really the last 5 years out of 15. That's pretty impressive. So yeah, so last year I fished Long Lake the most, which everyone knows because I posted videos from there all the time. Portage Lake was next with 19 trips. Austin Lake was next with 16. And that was it. Everything else was less than 10. So I saw a lot of videos from those 3 lakes. So I took only 2 trips in 2008 that I have record from. Those are both from Paw Paw. So basically from 2009 to 2024. 2019 I have only 6 trips recorded. So I don't know if I remember right. In 2019 I was kind of switching from writing reports on that website to starting to make videos, and I was kind of tired of writing the reports, but I wasn't quite making videos yet. And so I only have 6 trips recorded. So here's a graph that shows the trips per year that I took, and you can see the big drop down in 2019. And then Here's the trips per lake without the total, so you can kind of see I shifted from fishing Huzzy Lake a lot in 2009 to 2013. Used to fish that quite a bit. Austin Lake, I took a big spike in 2014. Fished that a ton, so we'll look at the data a little closer when we do lake analysis. Long Lake was kind of up and down. I would fish it sometimes more often, and then sometimes I barely fish it at all. But then, yeah, you can see last year it just shoots up. I hit it so much. But Austin Lake was the most, 32 trips back in 2014. Portage Lake, you can see right there, one little trip in 2010, and then I fished it more and more and fished it quite a bit, 2022, 23, and 24. There's a Lake X that I'm not going to give the name to. Just going to kind of keep that one private, but you'll see why when we start talking about the data a little bit more. You can kind of see I didn't fish that one at all until 2015, and then fished it about 10 times a year until the last couple of years I didn't really fish it that much. No good reason why. It's a good lake. And Pawpaw Lake just consistently about 5 to 10 trips a year, pretty much every year. I averaged 58 trips per year, but in 2023, I took 85, and then last year I took 122 trips where I caught a fish. Like I said, there's probably 10 to 20 extra trips where I got skunked. This data doesn't include Kalamazoo River fishing because I don't usually measure those fish, but I've caught a ton of fish from there. I go there all the time. I'd have some really nice bass, but I don't measure those ones. I just catch them, look at them, throw them back. 879 total trips in the last 15 years. There's enough data that it's going to be reliable. It's not going to be perfect. There's a lot of trips that probably aren't included, but there's a lot of trips at night that maybe aren't recorded, and just where I didn't have my logbook from long ago. So, like I said, I did the best I could, and like I said, some of the time I was guessing, or in the logbook I might have said, hey, I caught these keepers and then 15 non-keepers. So when I entered those, they're pretty much all 12 inches in the. If I don't have data, I just put them in as 12 inches if they were non-keeper. Or if I said, I caught, 6 keepers this trip. Well, I put them in as 14 inches because I didn't know the size. So there's a little bit of stuff that's kind of skewed, and we'll talk through that. But more lake totals. So, like I said, 5,799 fish recorded. Of those, 3,593 were non-keepers. So 38% roughly of my fish catches are keepers. So it's not great. Here's the total fish catches to size. There's a big spike at 13, and then it drops down. You can kind of see it just trends downward like you'd expect. Bigger fish are harder to catch, so it kind of trends down. Austin Lake matches it almost identically, but Lake X, as you can see, it does kind of the opposite. It has a big chunk of 17, 18, 19 inch, 20 inch fish that I catch, and it doesn't follow the downward trend. It actually goes up. Because of that, it's just a big size, a big amount of those fish when you catch them. But that's the lake that I get skunked a lot. But the average still at that lake, 3.3 fish per trip, and that's without all the times I get skunked there. So the real catch ratio would be like 2 fish a trip, which is terrible. The highest average would be Selkirk, but I only went there one time, 28 fish. That's what I caught. I caught 28 fish, but they were all non-keepers except 2. Fine Lake, I caught 23, but I only went there once. Randall Shane, I've been there twice. An average 21 fish per trip. Brownwood's the first one. I got four trips at Brownwood. Average about 15 fish per trip. Fisher's Lake went to twice, and I've averaged 15 fish per trip there. Next one, Gull Lake. Only been there 3 times, but averaged 13.7. Minor Lake at 13.3. Seems high. I don't remember catching that many fish from Minor. But Bankston Lake I expected to be high. 13.1. I catch a ton of little fish there. Some big ones mixed in. But my catch ratio is only 9% keepers, so less than one, or basically 1 out of every 10 fish is a keeper there. Cora Lake is about the same, 13 fish per trip, a little better average, 15.8%. Portage at 8.7 fish per trip, which isn't too bad. It kind of falls in the middle. Austin's down at 48th place at 5.2 fish per trip. Pawpaw Lake's right there at 5.2 fish per trip. Pawpaw Lake, 5.2 fish per trip though. And I average 69% keepers, so 7 out of every 10 fish are keepers at Pawpaw Lake, compared to Austin Lake, that's only 4 out of 10 fish. Lake X, I only catch, like I said, 3.3, or actually probably closer to 2.0 fish per trip, but 78% of them are keepers when I catch them. So 8 out of every 10 fish are going to be keepers of some type, and as you saw on the graph, most of them are big fish. So that's why I'm keeping that one not named, but Portage Lake is good. 62% are keepers. That's going to be it for now. We're going to get into, I've got lure breakdowns. We'll get into some of my specifics. That's going to be more specific to what I like to use, not what lures work good on lakes, but a lot of it's what I like to use, which you can guess from watching my videos. So we'll get into a little bit more. Hope you're looking forward to this deep dive into Southwest Michigan lakes. Hopefully the data is useful to you, and we even got some of the Cal Valley tournament data. We might try to compare it to some of that too. I've looked at that before, and we'll see if their data kind of matches what I find. So anyway, thanks for watching. Click subscribe and have a good day.